doing? I gotta explain a few things before we start this off. So, I don't know if you watched the last part or not, but if you did, you should know that the ending of it was erupt and probably confusing. My broadcast had decided to stop working, not even halfway, like, what was it, an hour and 49 minutes? And I ended up broadcasting what I thought to be about 4 hours, 4 to 5 hours. So a lot has happened from the 2 hour to the 4 hour mark. So I'm just going to give a brisk explanation. I don't even know where it ended off, to be honest. So if I repeat anything from the last chapter, that's what happened. So, to start off, we had 2 people die. Taka and is it Hifumi, the fanfic writer. They both died. Both died to a hammer to the head. Right now, we're going to start in the middle of the trial, because that's when I realized that that's what was happening. So we haven't figured out who the murderer is, but we figured out that Taka died first, then the fanfic writer. I'm a bit bummed out that it didn't record everything, because that was a lot. 2 hours, 3 hours, however long it was. That was a lot of stuff that we took in. Alright, let's just go ahead and continue with the class trial.
Maybe Monokuma simply got lazy and rolled them together into one.
Right now what they're talking about is when 3 students see a dead body, Monokuma announces that a dead body has been found. When the 2 announcements came off, they didn't come on in the right time. So they're trying to figure out why this happened. She's saying that there was only 1 and that Monokuma got lazy, but there was 2 of them.
What do you say, Monokuma? Any comment?
Well, it's a very sensitive issue, so I can't go into too much detail. But what I can say about the body discovery announcement is that it's only broadcast when 3 or more people find a dead body for the first time.
That didn't answer our question, man. We're asking if you're a lazy bum.
No, actually, that was plenty. Huh? He said it's only broadcast when a body is discovered for the first time, which means...
And then to give an idea, everybody thinks that Hero did it, Onion Head, Big Bush Head guy. So, if you see people starting to accuse him, that's why. It's just because they found him in a robot suit, which they assumed that the robot guy is who killed the fanfiction guy because of a picture that Celeste took.
If that's true, then why was the announcement made again later on?
Huh? Later on?
Exactly. We heard the body discovery announcement twice.
Shoot!
Oh shit.
I got it! We heard it a second time in the repository, when we rediscovered the 2 bodies. It didn't seem weird at the time, but it contradicts what Monokuma just told us.
Exactly. If we were actually rediscovering both bodies, the announcement shouldn't have played.
And in reality, when the 2 dead bodies were rediscovered, one of them was being discovered for the first time.
So, when we found Hifumi the first time in the nurse's office, he wasn't actually dead yet. Meaning, he wasn't actually found dead until we came upon him in the repository.
And that's just part of it. There's one other thing that leads me to believe he
I will
was
put this
still
back on
alive in the
audio,
nurse's
or audio,
office.
auto.
Oh, I know! Because he was super good at
That is the worst logic I have ever heard. But honestly, I do not think...
My
there's
guess
anything
is
that can
it's
prove he was
Celeste
still
that killed him.
alive.
Okay then, let's take another look at the events surrounding the discovery
My
of
guess
his
is I
body.
think the fanfiction guy killed Taka,
Then it should
and then
become
Celeste
clear
killed
whether
the
he was really
fanfiction
alive
guy.
or not.
This whole thing is pointless.
Let's apply the glasses thing. Do it.
Well, here's one thing we do know. The first time we found Hifumi's body was in the nurse's office. And then, while me and Celeste were in the bathroom, his body disappeared.
And the next time we saw his body, it was in the repository.
But when you compare his body before being moved and his body after being moved, other than the change in how it was positioned, there was no notable difference.
Oh no, no, no.
Was he really still alive?
Of course not. It is impossible. This is ridiculous.
Well, here's one thing. The first time we found him, and then his body just...
And the next time it was in.
But when you compare his body before being moved and his body other than the change in how there was no notable difference.
No, it's wrong.
That's wrong.
In fact, there was one clear difference between Hifumi in the nurse's office and the repository. His glasses. That fact alone proves that he was only playing dead in the beginning.
Perhaps you'd like to fill the rest of us in?
When we found Hifumi in the nurse's office, his glasses were covered with blood. But when we found him again later in the repository, they were spotless. And I found the item he used to wipe them clean in the nurse's office trash can.
It was the tissue.
I got it! It was a glasses cleaning cloth featuring a certain cartoon mascot. One look at the bloodstain on the cloth should make things clear. This piece of cloth was used to wipe Hifumi's glasses clean. And the mascot on the cloth is the same one that's on the digital camera, right? And whose digital camera was it? Hifumi's, of course.
The character was... Princess Piggles. Some demon angel pretty pudgy princess, I think.
I highly doubt anyone but Hifumi would have brought something like this to school.
I see your point. And the only people here who wear glasses are...
I wouldn't be caught dead using a tacky piece of garbage like that.
A few tissues is all I need to keep my glasses clean.
Then there's no question. It belonged to Hifumi.
So what you're saying is... What exactly?
What I'm saying is, the blood on his glasses was wiped away using his own glasses cleaning cloth.
Even if that is true, it does not mean he wiped the blood off himself.
But who would benefit from a clean pair of glasses other than the glasses owner?
That's a good point.
And it must have been him, right?
So let's assume that Hifumi was still alive in the nurse's office. He pretends to be dead. Then when he's alone, he wipes his glasses clean so he can see. Then he stands up and walks out on his own 2 feet. And with that, the impossible task of moving his copious corpse becomes possible, wouldn't you say?
But then, if he was just pretending to be dead... What was with all that blood? Was it paint or something?
The fridge in the nurse's office contains packs of blood for emergencies. He probably used one of those.
He figured if he was gonna play dead, he should go all out, so he just dumped it everywhere! But he got crazy with it and had to wipe his glasses off when he was done! God, what an idiot!
And if Hifumi was still alive, the disappearance of Taka's body is easily explained. It should be perfectly obvious who must have moved Taka's corpse.
Taka himself.
I got it!
I have no why Sakura wasn't there.
While we were all gathered in the nurse's office, he went to the equipment room and took Taka's body.
That also explains how the door to the repository got locked.
The door was locked?
Well, after the bodies disappeared, we all went looking for them, right? So me and Sakura headed for the repository. But when we got there, the door was locked.
And the repository door can only be locked from the inside. Which means, when Hina and Sakura got to the repository...
And it could only have been Hifumi, who just finished stashing Taka's body there.
He convinced us all he was dead. Saw his chance, he dragged Taka's body to the repository. So, Hifumi wasn't just another victim in this case. He was one of the assailants.
But that means he took part in the murders.
I just can't believe it.
If you're having trouble, would you like me to show you one more piece of evidence?
There's more?
Oh, absolutely. The single biggest fact pointing to his involvement has yet to be revealed. You know what I'm talking about, right, Makoto? The item he took off of Taka's lifeless body?
Oh, I actually don't. Let's see what we got here. Oh, you're talking about, I know what he's talking about. Is this thing. I think he had the paper and then, yeah.
I got it! You're talking about the note Hifumi had hidden away, aren't you?
Hidden note?
That's right. We found it stuffed in his pants.
What? In his pants?
Yes, his pants.
Okay, well, forget about the pants for now. Take a look at what the note says.
That's the note I was telling you about. The one that told me where to go. Huh? Wait, this one's a little different. In my note it said, Monokuma can't find out, so don't tell anyone else for now. Let's meet in the rec room at 1 a.m.
I see. Then this note isn't the same one Hiro got.
It's not the same?
In other words, the killer got in touch with another person, and that person could only have been...
Me. Boo's pants. That's great.
That's right! Taka! The killer used this note to draw out Taka and murder him.
Hello? Over here! Objection! Objection! I don't really understand what's going on, but Hifumi had that letter, right? So whoever wrote it wasn't drawing out TikTok, they were drawing out Huffy!
Just to be clear, TikTok is Taka and Huffy is Hifumi.
Ugh, yes! Why must you ruin it every time? Huffy had the note, right? Then the person it was intended for must have been Huffy!
But remember what the note said. What time did it say to meet?
6 a.m., I believe.
The time doesn't matter! The note has nothing to do with TikTok!
No, I don't want that.
Huffy had the note, right? for must have been hockey.
But remember what the note said. What time did it say to meet?
6 a.m., I believe.
The time doesn't matter. The note has nothing to do with TikTok.
Oh, I missed. Bad. I know.
Hockey had the note, then the person it was must have been hockey.
But remember what time did it?
6 a.m.
The time doesn't matter. The note has nothing to do with TikTok.
No, it's wrong. No, there absolutely is a connection.
What the hell are you talking about?
The note said to meet at 6 a.m., which is the same time Taka was murdered. We've already proven that using his wrist, but there's more. Look where the note says to meet. The equipment room, right?
Which is where Taka was killed. I see.
So, Taka was murdered at both the time and place written in the note. I think that should be plenty to show that this note was definitely meant for Taka.
Well, when you put it like that. No further objections.
Then someone used that note to trick Taka. Just the same as me. The culprit really is a cold-blooded monster. Telling people they found a way out.
But if they gave the note to Taka, what was Hifumi doing with it?
Stuff down his pants, no less.
Most likely, Hifumi stole it off Taka's corpse after he died.
Huh? He stole it?
Where's your proof? Go ahead, show us.
I got it!
I get
When I
it.
searched Taka's body, I saw that his lifeless hand was gripping a small scrap of paper. If I'm right about this, the sheet of... I knew it! It fits perfectly with the note we found hidden on Hifumi.
Then Taka's scrap and Hifumi's note.
Yup, they're from the same piece of paper.
Hifumi had the note meant for Taka, while Taka's corpse still grasped a small piece of that note. There's only one way to explain it.
Taka died clutching the note. Hifumi tried to free the note from his death grip, leaving behind only one small scrap. Did I get all that right?
That means Hifumi knew the note was important.
Exactly. Which proves that he was an accomplice in the murder.
Whoa. Yeah. After seeing all this, Hifumi was super involved in this whole thing. In fact, he was behind the whole thing. In fact, he's still alive.
Sorry,
Calm down.
no. When we found him in the repository, Hifumi was truly and completely dead. The second body discovery announcement proves that.
So then,
Whoever did is the mastermind, the true killer.
He was killed in the repository. So he must have been killed not long after transporting Taka's body.
So, he must have been killed after Taka's body vanished, but before we found both bodies in the repository.
During that time, we'd all split up and were searching for Taka's missing body. In other words, during that time, none of us have alibis.
wait, but me and Sakura were together.
Stop trying to steal the spotlight, you stupid walrus.
Who are you calling a walrus?
Anyway, when they were killed bothers me too. But there's something that's been bothering me even more.
And what might that be?
The weapon they used to kill Hifumi.
The weapon?
Yeah, because I mean, according to the Monokuma file, the way Taka and Hifumi were killed was almost the same. But Justice Hammer 3 and 4 were still laying around in the nurse's office and equipment room, right? So if Hifumi was killed in the repository, the culprit would have had to grab one of the hammers, kill and then put the hammer back where they found it. But wouldn't that be seriously risky for him?
I'm surprised. It seems there's some semblance of a brain knocking around that skull of yours after all.
Hell yeah, it's packed in there good and tight.
He's right, though. I don't understand it either. The Monokuma file makes it clear that they were killed using similar instruments. But if the hammers were already laying around those other rooms...
So the question is, how could the culprit have gotten their hands on either of the hammers? Personally, I haven't a clue. So which hammer was used to attack Celeste? Number 1?
Those were accounted for in other rooms too. And I don't think either one is big enough to kill someone.
Is it not possible they used a different weapon?
I don't think it is possible. They were both killed with the same kind of thing.
So then, what was used to kill Hifumi?
It was that hammer I found that was washed. Yep.
What was used to kill Hifumi? Was it Justice Hammer 3? Maybe Justice Hammer 4?
Well, whatever it was, there's one thing we have to figure out. How was the culprit able to move around so freely with the weapon? How did nobody witness them carrying it?
Sounds like a Justice Hammer 5 is about to make its appearance! Check out murdergear.com/hammertime for more info!
Damn.
Shoot!
What was used? Was it just maybe Justice?
Well, there's one. How was the culprit? How did nobody...
Sounds like a Justice... Check out murdergear.com/hammertime for more info!
Well, one thing seems pretty clear. The murder weapon had to be one of the Justice Hammers!
There we go.
No, that's wrong. The murder weapon wasn't a Justice Hammer at all. No, it was something completely different.
But, seriously? A different weapon?
Specifically, a hammer from the repository. The killer could have easily used that to kill Hifumi. Now, all the hammers in the repository were covered in flecks of grit and debris. But for some reason, one of them had been scrubbed clean.
Huh?
And the reason it had been scrubbed clean was most likely because it was used to commit murder. If the hammer got covered in Hifumi's blood. I'd also like to point out that the repository has all kinds of hammers. Big ones, small ones, and even some flat mallet-like ones. I think whoever made the Justice Hammers used those as a basis for their design.
If that's true, explain the Monokuma file's note about the wounds being similar.
So Hifumi moved Taka's body to the repository, where someone then used the hammer to kill him.
Whoever did that is the true killer. The one Hifumi was working with. And the one who betrayed him. Hold on a moment. I still think it's strange to assume someone was working together with him. The way the graduation rule works, there is no benefit to helping someone else carry out a murder. So the idea that anyone would work together like that is simply ludicrous. We talked about this, did we not? Based on the rules that have been laid out for us, even if more than one person is complicit in the murder, only the one who actually carried out the act can graduate and survive. Assuming the rule holds true, it is simply impossible that two people work together on this.
That is how the rule was explained to us.
But that only really applies if there's one murder, right? In this case, however, there were two murders.
Based on the rules that have been laid out for us, even if more than one, only the one who actually, assuming the rule holds true, it is simply impossible.
That is.
But that only really applies if there's, in this case, however, there were two murders.
Shit.
Shoot!
Based on the rules that even if more than one, only the one who actually, assuming the rule holds true,
That is.
But that only really applies if there's one murder. In this case, however, there were two murders.
Based on the rules that have been laid out for even if more than one person is from only the one who actually carried out the act can graduate and survive. Assuming the rule holds true, it is simply impossible that two people work together.
No, that's not what I meant to do.
Shoot.
Well, I fucked it up.
Based on the rules, even if more than one, only the one who actually, assuming the rule holds true.
That is.
But that only really applies. In this case, however, there were 2 murders.
Based on the rules, even if more than one person is from only the one who actually carried out the act can graduate and survive, assuming the rule holds true.
There we go.
No, it's wrong. Since there were 2 murders, it's at least plausible that...
What do you mean?
If there'd only been 1 murder, then yes, the idea of an accomplice isn't really worth considering. Naturally, if only one person can be saved per murder, an accomplice has no risk versus reward benefit.
Risk versus reward...
The payoff for working together. The reward that balances out the risk of taking part in it. There's no point in being someone's accomplice if there's no benefit to you. However, if there were some potential mutual reward for the risk...
You're saying that 2 people could act as each other's accomplices to commit 2 separate murders.
I think that's what the true killer told Hifumi. They would each have an accomplice for their crime. And based on the case's events, Hifumi would have been the first one to act, murdering Taka. They made him carry out the first murder so he couldn't back out of helping them later on.
So in this case, there wasn't one single person committing multiple murders. Instead, each person killed someone, creating 2 separate incidents. And it only looked like one person because that's how the true killer designed it to look. A single suspicious individual, a similar weapon used in each crime, disappearing bodies. By creating one seamless set of circumstances, they made it look like one person was behind it all.
The mastermind picked their target and managed to convince him to go along with their plan. And then, to avoid the no accomplices rule, they simply killed their accomplice. Which, if true, means that betraying Hifumi was part of the plan from the very beginning.
That's just awful! How could anyone be so cruel?
You think so? I can't help but admire its cunning. Still, their choice of accomplice seems odd.
Understand how an accomplice could be involved. But then, who was the one pulling Hifumi's strings?
That's problem numero uno right now!
So Celeste.
Here's my answer. It was Celeste.
Ah, so I'm the suspicious individual now, am I? I really do hate this kind of joke.
A joke? I wonder.
So what you are saying, then, is that I specifically chose to work together with Hifumi. The idea that I would choose to spend any amount of time interacting with him, that I would go within 10 feet of that shit-for-brain-fat, lazy, worthless, goddamn idiot! Pardon-moi.
Just to be clear, there is evidence to support it.
Is that so?
It is. Throughout the investigation, there was certain behavior that was common only to the 2 of you. Considering what we've learned so far, it only further proves that the two of you were working together.
I got it! The behavior they had in common has to do with the suspicious individual, and the only ones who ever actually saw Robo-Justice firsthand were Celeste and Hifumi.
Shush, the adults are talking now.
Sorry.
As he said, only Celeste and Hifumi ever laid eyes on the costumed individual. If we accept that Hifumi was one of the culprits, we can't help but suspect what Celeste has said as well.
Are you saying everything they told us was a lie?
After taking Hifumi to the nurse's office, we all began our search for this individual, correct? And not too long after that, do you remember what Celeste said? We headed to the second floor specifically because of what she claimed to have seen. Next, to draw us all to the physics lab up on the third floor,
She let out a blood-curdling scream.
and when we'd all come to see what was wrong, once she'd done her job of getting us all up to the physics lab, it was time for her partner to get to work.
It was to get us to divide into two groups, so that we would discover both bodies at the same time?
In fact, Celeste was precisely the one who proposed that we split up. Well, if Celeste and Hifumi were working together, all those chance events suddenly become connected. And on top of that, that piercing cry of yours early on. That was to signal Hifumi, wasn't it? It was your way of telling him, we're on the third floor, everything's going. Why else would you let out a scream that could have carried across the sea?
I just realized another strange thing. When we found Hifumi in the nurse's office, who we now know was only pretending to be dead, Celeste, you were the first one to say he'd been murdered. You wanted to make sure we wouldn't have it.
I don't believe it. Everything, the whole thing was one
Doesn't
big
have
act.
one thing to say.
You were with Celeste when Hifumi's body disappeared, right?
Yeah. I was feeling kind of sick, so she took me to the